Here we go, man.
Okay.
Okay. Do- Okay, we're back, y'all. This is actually part two. We just wrapped up with um, with Attorney Brian D. Williams. We were talking about what to do if you are charged with domestic violence. And so I gave a scenario that was like a loaded scenario, and Brian, being the fantastic attorney that he is, he began to say, that it was a loaded scenario, and started to, poke holes like within this with the scenario that I gave. So, and it was basically the scenario was, you're in an argument with your partner. Your partner could be a male or female partner, and your neighbors hear dishes break next door, and the police are called. The police then come to your house, and take someone to jail. What's going on, brother Red Wings? How you doing?
I'm
Um,
good. How are you, sir? Good to,
Fantastic, fantastic.
good to be back.
So, yes, good. Thanks. Glad to have you back. Just real quick, man. A statistic says that over 20 million people have been falsely accused of abuse. 17% of all domestic, this is in 2020, 17% of all domestic violence cases are the result of a false accusation.
Right.
So, yeah, and I was like, wow, that's like, I know that's like a major part of it. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and talk about where we were at, where we finished off at.
All right. So yeah, let's address specifically right now the false accusations again, and we can go back to the fact pattern. But the problem with the false accusations, or where those generally arise, is where you get into it with your spouse, your significant other, your baby mama, whatever you want to call it, and already it's heated. There's some animosity for whatever reason. Maybe the person thinks that you're going to leave them, or they find out that you're talking to somebody else, or something may have happened some other time and they felt like you got away with it and they got pissed off with you on this particular day. Maybe, and unfortunately a lot of times alcohol is involved in these situations, or drugs or something of that nature. um, and what they'll do is they get an opportunity and they'll just call the police, and they'll it really only takes an allegation. I mean, it's unfortunate that it can occur that way. I mean, unless you are very, very well prepared and eloquent and just know exactly what the elements are of the offense, and you know, more than likely you can get taken into custody simply based upon the allegation, which is unfortunate. So, are you there, D?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I go on mute. I go on mute so I won't interrupt you. It's kind of like
Yeah.
I like fighting myself.
Yeah, understood.
So yeah. All right. So let's go back to the fact pattern, the initial fact pattern. Where we
Hmm.
were talking about kind of the situation that I laid out. So some person's arrested, and they then go to sit in front of a judge, and then is a protection order is issued. Um, what happens next?
Well, generally they will be released either, depending on the criminal history. They're going to normally be released, especially on a level six, on a very low bond, or on their own recognizance, depending on their criminal history. But again, a lot of times they are released subject to restriction with the no contact order, and in order to monitor the no contact order, a lot of times the state will request that the person be released with the added condition of GPS tracking. So the GPS tracking, so before they are able to get out completely, they will have to go check in to a community corrections program and potentially get that bracelet on, so that it can be, so that they're they can be monitored where they're going to make sure that they are not going back to the location of the alleged events. Now, all these things are rooted in some really good history. The problem is that these things are subject to abuse. So, for instance, let's just say I'm in a relationship with a woman. I really want to get her out of there, but I just, I don't want to go through trying to evict her. And, if I could just get her out of there, I can take my stuff and I can do whatever I want to do. And just so long as she's not there. This is a really, really good way to get that accomplished, unfortunately, unless you have an attorney there in the front. So what happens is that you are unable, if you're the person who's accused, you're unable to go to the location. If you have children in common, and if the children were anywhere near, it's a wrap, even assuming the children weren't near and assuming that the children weren't involved, assuming they were even asleep. Sometimes it'll be charged enhanced because the children could possibly hear. But let's just to say that they were just in the house and they lived there. Well, you can't go to the house. And let's just say that you don't have anybody else that you can go through to contact to see the kids. Now you're away from your kids. Now let's just say that you're also the primary breadwinner in that home and you both know it. And in a fit of rage or anger or jealousy, the person called the police. Now, unfortunately, the primary breadwinner cannot come to the house. They potentially may lose their job. And the primary breadwinner now has the money caught up in bond, potentially, GPS monitoring expenses, and attorney fees. So what happens is that a moment of anger or whatever it may be turns into a situation which is a nightmare for everyone. Um, it really does become quite an unfortunate circumstance. Generally, a lot of times people are going to try to work through these situations, but unfortunately, in Indiana, once that call is made, then the police, the alleged victim is pretty much taken out of the equation initially. So at that point, you set a course has been set. It's like a domino effect, and it's just brrr. The alleged victim really can't stop it. They can contact the state and say, "Hey, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore,"
Yeah.
and even say I was lying. But the state, they'll simply look at the police report and say, "Well, this is what you said at the time," because they've had enough situations where people come back and realize that what's going to happen now, and they try to change their stories. So there's you have to have somebody who's fairly experienced enough to know how to deal with these circumstances. Each and every case is different. Um, but again, me myself, I have, I've seen these things. I'm a regular person, just like everybody else. Teenage father. Um, my mother was a victim of domestic abuse. I saw it when I was a child. It's something that I've seen for quite some time. It's something that I struggled to understand early on. I have a degree in psychology. Um, I was pre med, then I went to psychology, then I went on to graduate school to study psychology, where I was going to actually go to the FBI to be a profiler. So there is an art as well to understanding these circumstances. I don't think that everybody is created equal with regard to knowing how to address these circumstances and knowing how to analyze the alleged victim and the motive and those type of things. It really is an art.
Wow. Is there a particular case that you can talk about? Or just like that, the freedom to talk about something that was a peculiar defense that you used?
Well, in a sense, I've been given examples from real life cases from
Oh, okay.
cases
Yeah.
the
All right.
entire time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, every bit of the example that I've given you, even earlier in the show about not being able to get employment, about being terminated from employment, about being placed on restrictions. That happened with a client who worked at Walmart. I had I've had clients who drove Ubers and weren't able to, were restricted from their ability to. Are you there still?
Yeah, you dropped off for a second. You said,
Hello?
yeah, I'm here. It said when you
Hello?
can you hear me? You there? You
Hello?
there, Brian? Hold on a second. I'm gonna drop you off and then we're gonna pick you back up. So hang on a second. Let's see.
D, are you still there?
Yeah. You there? Can you hear me now?
Hello?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Brian? Oh my God, man.
Hello?
StreamYard. Hey y'all, we gotta have to. Looks like let's see if he's gonna give me a call. So give me just a second.
I see the crystal raindrops fall, and the beauty of it all is when the sun comes shining through to make those rainbows in my mind. When I think of you sometime, and I want to spend some time with you, just the two of us. We can make it if we try, just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
Just the two of us. Building castles in the sky, just the two of us, you and I. We look for love, no time for tears. Wasted water's all that is, and it don't make no flowers grow. Good things might come to those who wait, but not for those who wait too late. We gotta go for all we know. Just the two of us. We can make it if we try, just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
Just the two of us. Building them castles in the sky, just the two of us. You and I. I hear the crystal raindrops fall on the window down the hall, and it becomes the morning dew. And darling, when the morning comes and I see the morning sun, I wanna be the one with you. Just the two of us. We can make it if we try, just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
Just the two of us, building big castles way on high. Just the two of us, you and I.
Just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
Let's get it together, baby.
Just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
All right, I had to do a little quick interlude, man. So Brian, you can take yourself off mute. If you can, I know you probably can remember exactly where we left off.
No, not really.
Okay, we were talking. So let's just say this much. If if you were charged with domestic violence, and you kind of go through the process of getting out, and then we talked about some of the major issues
Oh,
that
I think I
occur.
remember exactly where we left
Okay.
off, actually.
Okay.
Are we on right now?
Yeah, we're live.
Okay. I think I was saying that you were asking for specific examples, and what I was telling you is that a lot of what I have said is based upon actual cases, actual experiences, wherein people um, had such a circumstance arise where they, again, I think I was talking the last about an Uber driver who, because of the no contact order, was restricted in what he was able to do, and where he was able to drive. But that was his secondary income. He was also employed um, at a major retailer who then placed him on administrative leave pending the outcome of the case. So he not only, based upon the allegation, did he lose his primary source of income, but his secondary source of income, I think he was actually delivering for Uber Eats. His secondary source of income was tremendously restricted. I had to go in there and, over the state's objection, try to get rid of that no contact order, which absolutely made no sense. I ended up getting that case dismissed, and a lot of times I do get them dismissed, or, you know, I'd say a lot of times I get these cases dismissed, but obviously sometimes we have to take them to trial and prevail at trial. Other times there's other steps and measures that need to occur for the case to be resolved, and it could take some time. The problem is that I don't think that people really truly understand how much chaos that case is going to wreak and havoc is going to wreak on their lives for quite some time. So let's just say, all right, I get the domestic dismissed, but the the alleged victim, it still comes in and says, well, he touched me, and it was during the course of an argument. They were angry. So that's a battery. That's a misdemeanor battery. You can't get around that potentially sometimes. So that's a problem. But what happens is that batteries are difficult to deal with, and they're difficult to find employ on. Again, I think I said earlier in the earlier segment that thefts and batteries are two things that employers frown upon uh, almost universally. So that's going to be a big problem. Um, Now, let's just say that the domestic is entered as a conviction, and a good freaking lawyer is a. Let's just say that this really did happen, and there's significant injury, and you can see it. There's photos. The alleged victim is cooperating. She's ready to move on. He's ready to move on. You slice their finger off, or like this
Like the
happened with
Johnny
this.
Depp and Amber Heard deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if this woman was convicted, but it seems to me that maybe she got away with one there. But in either event, let's just say the finger was sliced. That's a major felony. That's going to be. They're not going to get rid of that one lightly in Indiana. I'm going to tell you that right now. That's not going to go away. But let's just say there's some significant injury, but it's just a level 6 domestic. Let's say I'm able, or a good attorney is able to get it down and get you a misdemeanor in the front, a misdemeanor sentencing on that domestic violence level 6, give you a misdemeanor in the front rather than a felony. You're happy because it's not a felony, and that's great. Let's say I'm able to get you non-reporting probation. It means that you don't have to go through all the other things that you just let's say we're able to get you so you have just a certain amount of classes that you have to take and pay a fee for those classes, undergo some type of evaluation, then you're done. All right. Problem with this is still that, and this is where we're talking about the havoc that these things wreak. Now it's still on your record. It still affects your ability to obtain employment. Worse still, domestic violence convictions are treated differently when it comes to expungements as well. So later on, it's going to be more difficult to get rid of that domestic violence than it would be another case if you went in to try to expunge it, whether it be a class A or level 6. If it's a domestic, it's going to be treated differently under the expungement statute. It's also going to make it more difficult to own and possess, or to to be able to carry a firearm.
Wow. So you're gonna lose some civil rights, some serious civil rights.
Yeah, so these things are going to affect some serious civil rights for a significant and substantial period of time. And the thing is that even as a good lawyer, most times I can curb some of these things, but some of these things are just, you just do the best you can to just try to ease the blow of what has become a juggernaut that has just been activated in a moment of anger, whether it be the alleged perpetrator's moment of anger, or whether it be the alleged victim who just decided that they were going to be angry and vindictive and make a call, or have somebody call and it wasn't necessarily true. They just, the things that occur afterwards are just tremendous. Tremendous. You definitely have to have somebody who, because people just don't know that all these things could possibly occur as a result of these cases. So you
Wow.
definitely need to have somebody who's experienced and knows these things. And guy like me, I can't teach you what I'm going to do. I can just do it. Because I know what I'm doing and because I've been trained in the psychological sciences, but I've also have a great deal of experience in the law. They're definitely not waters that you want to tread in lightly, and definitely don't want to tread in by yourself. And technically, everybody's not the same. Like I said earlier, everybody is not made the same when it comes to these cases or any other cases, but particularly these cases, in my opinion.
Right. And look, Brother Red Wings Hockey says that, Darren, my brothers and nephews are big people. Hitting a woman is not cool at all. Yet, actually, domestic violence, it goes both ways. So I think you shouldn't you should keep your hands to yourself in general.
Yeah, and
This is a good practice.
oh yeah, it doesn't even have to be necessarily hitting anybody either. Again,
Wow. It could be like the threat, right? The threat of.
it doesn't even have to be a threat. It's just touching someone in a rude, insolent, or angry manner. Let's just say somebody's got a book in there, or they're waving their finger in your face, and you hit that hand. That's a domestic. Or you push it, or you shove it out of your way. You touch that person in a rude, insolent, angry manner. You know, if they say that hurt in some way, shape, or form, now that becomes a legal issue as to whether or not it actually did fulfill the element of causing pain, and whether the other element that will be an issue is whether you did so in a rude, insolent, or angry manner. So these are elements.
That's wide, man. Rude, instant, or angry. I mean,
Yeah.
anything. I mean, that covers a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. What the heck is insolent? I mean,
Yeah.
you have to go into what that means. You know, somebody who's annoyed and that touches you. And, you know, I've seen these kind of cases, you know, where somebody was touching somebody tapping somebody on the shoulder, and the person turned around and said, "Oh," or something like that, and they kind of just, as a reflex, moved their arm and kind of smacked the other person's hand, and didn't turn out well.
Wow.
Wow. You
Wow.
gotta be. It's not as simple as, oh yeah, don't hit women. That's not what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, if it were that simple, I mean, that it would be one thing. But this is domestic cases. They run the gambit of circumstances and situations.
Yeah. Look at this. It says insolent. The actual definition of insolent is showing a rude and arrogant lack of respect.
Yeah.
And so look, it's the example they give in a sentence is she hated the insolent tone of his voice.
Yeah. Well, I guess if there happens to be a contact that occurs during that use of the voice, then I mean, you can establish that by saying, what was he saying to here? I'm playing the role of prosecutor. And sir, man, what was he saying to you? What was he or she saying? Well, he was yelling at me at the top of his lungs. I could barely even understand what he was saying. And what was he saying? Did you ever understand? He said he hated me. That's going to establish rude, insolent, or angry. I mean, or let's just say he says the person testifies that the alleged perpetrator said that they wanted to be done with me, or they were finished or through. That's going to probably establish insolent, or that the person who said it that's going to establish the mindset potentially. And so a good defense attorney is going to have to then come in and say, well, he said that. Let's establish what exactly occurred here. Let's go back to what you said on direct. You said initially that blah, blah, blah. He said this. But you didn't say that you told them to get out just before that. Now, did you? No, I didn't say that. And you didn't establish that prior to that point. He had said that he loved you, that he understood that you guys need to part your ways. Is that correct? You didn't say that. Is that correct? But he did say that. Is that correct? Yes, he did actually say that. So now what the defense attorney is trying to establish is that the person had their druthers about them, that they were that they had a solid mind and that they weren't in the place where the alleged victim initially placed them or tried to paint them in a certain position. Okay. So that is overly simplistic. There's just a million different variables to every single incident. And again, all I can say is that it takes some serious analysis to figure it out. Person like me, I'm going to see it almost right away. But that's, again, you need to have somebody in your corner who understands how these things go down.
Okay. One last thing, and then I'm gonna let you go. We're just gonna do just 3 common defenses that you have seen or have used against a domestic violence accusation. Just 3.
3 common defenses. It didn't happen. She is lying. That's going to be the first one. And the first and the best one, another defense is that a lot of times the person will not necessarily cooperate and won't want to be involved in the actual prosecution. And although they say it to the state doesn't let go of the case, but a good lawyer will be able to get that out during the case and say, and be able to make an argument that the state was the driving force behind the actual prosecution, that the person didn't want to have anything to do with it, and this is a vindictive prosecution. Maybe not going that far, but there's ways to paint that. Another would be self-defense.
Okay, self-defense.
Yes.
Okay.
Defense of self or others, actually.
Okay. Right on. So somebody was they're acting really crazy. You jumped in and say, hey, stop. And it just seemed like it was in a rude, innocent manner.
Yeah.
But you were really going to stop them from harming someone else or themselves, right? I mean,
yes.
Then, okay, there you go.
And then they say, oh, yeah, the police are called and they say that you shoved them or whatever, and that's your partner, and you somehow get arrested for domestic when you were actually trying to prevent that person from either harming you or your children or something like that. It happens. Like, hey, if somebody's coming at you or coming at your children, you push them down.
Yeah.
Let's just say you're a male and your partner's coming at you and is wielding a knife or is trying to snatch your kids out of your hands forcefully. You have the right to defend yourself and your children from that unwanted touching, which is about to occur.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you again so much. If you guys want to check out Attorney Brian D. Williams, go to indiecriminallawyer.com. Let me pull up his website real quick. Hold on a second. Pulling up right now, man. So bear with me. There he is. It's a good-looking fella. Known him for quite a while.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. Anyway, man, I like to tease you, man. I like to tease you.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. But yeah, he's a fantastic attorney. He recently did something on Hip Hop News Uncensored, talking about the Cosby case. Go check it out. It was a fantastic interview. We'll put a link to that in the description box of this video and the part 1. So go check that one out as well. Thank you so much, Brian, again, and I can't wait to have you back on. You always give some wonderful insight, man, and you flex that intelligence all the time, man.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Coming from a man of your intelligence, I take that as quite a compliment. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
what? Oh man, hold
Yeah.
on. All right, let me leave it off with what we normally leave it off with, and then we can go. So,
I was thinking last night about this case and their theory and how it didn't make any sense and how it didn't fit and how something is wrong. And it occurred to me how they were going to come here and stand up here and tell you how O.J. Simpson was going to disguise himself. Was going to put on a knit cap and some dark clothes, and he was going to get in his white Bronco and this recognizable person and go over and kill his wife. That's what they want you to believe. That's how silly their argument is. And I said to myself, maybe I can demonstrate this graphically. Let me show you something. This is a knit cap. I'm going to put this knit cap on. And you've been seeing me for a year. If I put this knit cap on, who am I? I'm still Johnny Cochran with a knit cap. And if you look at O.J. Simpson over there, and he has a rather large head, O.J. Simpson in a knit cap from 2 blocks away is still O.J. Simpson. It's no disguise. It's no disguise. It makes no sense. It doesn't fit. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
right on, man. Thank you so
Love
much,
it.
man.
Thank you. Appreciate
All
it.
right, man.